Okay. So, as I was saying, make sure you can look at your notes after, because that's really helpful to keep the information.
Just
in your
review
brain.
your notes.
So, like after your class, you've taken your notes, and then just look at your notes over again. That helps you retain the information. It helps you to really reinforce the concepts that were taught, and that way you don't have to study as hard in the future for your tests. You don't have to cram. Because you've already spaced out the information, and it stays in your mind better that way anyway.
Okay.
Oh,
what's going on here? Oops.
Okay.
Something stronger. Maybe that lamp. But
I don't know. I think it's okay. Okay, let's not touch it. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, let's talk about your essay then. So your essay. Let's see what she said. I wish you the best. Okay.
Yeah, you started me out with the intro, and you said this was the body. I wrote that down.
Right.
You said the body went all the way to here, and conclusion was all the way down to here.
Right. So let's look at your introduction. So let me tell you about the elements of an introduction. And it looks like here that she wants a very clear difference between introduction, body, and conclusion. So you can feel free to write this down. So you can just write introduction. And the basic elements inside of an introduction is, first, you need to have an attention getter.
Oh, attention getter. Okay.
Yeah, attention getter. So this is what's going to get people interested in your topic, because, sometimes it's hard reading a lot of essays and a lot of literature. So you need to have like a introduction that's very, that grabs your reader's attention and is able to draw them into your piece and want to read the rest. Does that make sense? Okay. So the next thing that you're going to need inside an introduction is you're going to want to give a little bit of background or history of your topic. And this is going to vary depending on your essay, like the length of the essay. Obviously, if it's like a short topic, you don't need to go extensively into the history, because that would be a little bit
short history on
But yeah, so like a little bit of history or background. So basically your readers have like a frame of reference, like they know what you're talking about. They have something to go off of. So an analogy for this would be like, let's say you were talking about medical practices. Yeah, and then you can, for background, you can talk about how medicine is really important to us in the United States, or how medicine is really important to the world, because that's really how we stay healthy and stay fit.
Medicine is really important to the world. Fitness.
So you can talk about that for like a background, for example. Yeah, that's just an example. So for here, where you're talking about a lot of bachelor degrees and different things like that, what would you say for like a background?
I would say that education is an important tool to have, because it helps people to succeed and get ahead in life.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good for background.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So the third thing that you need inside of an introduction is
the third thing
to state the topic. And I say that because topic is a very broad word, meaning that it could encompass like the thesis. Sometimes our teachers want us to write the thesis right up front. Some of our teachers want us to list the 3 topics that we're going to be talking about. So whatever you do, you just need to make sure that you state your topic or whatever you're going to talk about. So for example, back to the medicine analogy, you could talk about, it would be like me saying, today I'm going to, well, this is more speech, or we're going to explore the 3 different aspects of medicine, child medicine, adult medicine, and senior medicine. Make sense? So kind of like that. So back to your context where you talk a lot about bachelor's degrees.
Mm-hmm.
How would you state your topic?
I would state my topic.
Or what is your topic?
Well, my topic is relatable to the article right here, step-by-step transition from getting associates to bachelor. And I basically started off my talk by saying many people like doctors, lawyers, and teachers start off at a community college, then they eventually transfer to a university to complete their courses and to attain a bachelor's degree. I don't know. I'm not really writing specifically about degrees, but
right.
Yeah, my topic is not specifically about the bachelor's or master's, associates.
Okay, this almost sounds to me like the body paragraph because you're telling us, like you could make this the body because you're telling us the process of going from associates to bachelor, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're saying this is how a lot of other people do it, and that's also how I plan to do it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, maybe your topic is the process of transitioning from an associate degree to a bachelor's degree and how that applies to my personal academic journey.
Process.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be your topic. It's like the process of going from associates to bachelor degree.
Associates to bachelor.
Right. And how that applies to my life.
Okay.
Is that what you're trying to say?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Because he told us it has to be related to the article.
Okay, so right here it says personal goal essay. What does that mean?
Oh, that's what he first told us. It had to be a personal goal essay, but it still had to come from this article.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I can ask him a little about that. Then,
yeah, make sure you ask him, is it supposed to be based off of what you want to do in the future,
mm-hmm.
or is it basically giving us a summary of what's happening in this long essay that nobody's going to read? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's related to me.
Or maybe you can say my topic is the process of going from associate's degree to a bachelor's degree and how I'm pursuing that. Or like my progress in doing that. Does that make sense? So you're giving us an overview of how to go from associates to bachelor degree, and you're also giving us an overview of how far you've gone in that journey and what you plan to do in the future.
Okay.
So it would be kind of like in the beginning you would talk about, so each paragraph you would talk about how to do it and then
mm-hmm.
how your progress on it so far. Does that make sense?
Yeah, how to do it, okay. And then your progress.
Right. So again, this is subject to your teacher, and I don't personally know your teacher, and I personally don't know what he's looking for, so that's probably something you should ask your teacher and say, hey, what are you looking for? Do you want this to be more of a personal goal essay, or do you want this to be more of an essay based off of this right here?
Okay, or based off of the article.
Of this, yeah. And then, so what I'm telling you is about the hybrid, or like the mix between the two, where you basically say, this is how you do it, and this is how far I've come.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And then, so that's another question that you can ask him. Would that be acceptable if I say, this is the journey, this is how you get to the end goal, and this is how far I've come on this journey? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
It does.
Okay, cool. So that's something that you can ask your teacher about.
Okay, I'll ask him.
Okay, cool.
Because I'm getting a little confused myself, but
right.
But he's understandable, so I'll be there asking him.
Okay.
Okay, so I would write about how to do it, like how to get there, and these are the steps I had to take, or you said process, so that would go along with steps. Or?
Right. So again, that's something that's left up to your teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure exactly what he's looking for but from my understanding, you would show the progress. So for example, what would happen is inside your essay, let's say you have 3 different body paragraphs or 3 different steps.
Mm-hmm.
First step would be graduate, and this is just hypothetical, so you don't have to write it down.
Right.
But graduate high school,
Mm-hmm.
graduate college, go to a university. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Like
in
an
the
ed
beginning,
plan or
kind
educational plan?
of. I'm not exactly sure what the steps outlined here are, but just for example,
Mm-hmm.
it could be graduate high school, graduate college, then graduate university. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then your body paragraphs would look like, according to the article, this is how you graduate high school. And then you can be like, oh, I already accomplished that. And then the second step is graduating college. And then you can say, according to article, this is how you graduate college. And then you can say, oh, I'm halfway done with that. And then the third step is graduating university. And you can say, according to the article, this is how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can say, I haven't done it yet, but I'm planning to do that in the future. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the hybrid that I'm talking about, where your paragraphs will have a little bit of both.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So
yeah.
that's something that you can ask your professor and see if that's what he's looking for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll ask him then. Alright. I do have to write an argumentative essay. It's for a different class.
Okay.
A writing class.
Let's look at that. So yeah, I guess I can't help you further on this one until I get clarification from your professor, because I wouldn't want to like fix this one all nice and make it perfect, and then just to find out that that's not what your professor was looking for.
That's so true. I actually haven't started on the argument essay, but the one I was thinking about doing was on minimum wage.
Okay.
I don't think.
So what are you arguing?
I want to argue about minimum wage, actually.
So do you want to argue that it should go up or go down or not exist at all?
I think that it should go up, my personal opinion. So, and minimum wage in California should definitely go up.
Okay. Why do you think that is?
Because to rent a place and to buy a home is expensive, and you need to be able to afford. Not everybody can live off just a minimum wage check, so it needs to go up. So do I would start off like brainstorming or?
Yeah. So are you starting just from the very, very beginning? You haven't done.
No, I haven't wrote an essay at all.
Okay.
No. Give me like a little help or like
Sure.
what you do in an argument essay.
Yeah, sure. So, I'm sorry. There are a couple of ways that you can look at this. So one of the easiest is just providing 3 reasons why you believe what you believe.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So when you brainstorm, you would just say minimum wage should increase because reason A, reason B, reason C. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Another one that you could do is it's called criteria satisfaction. And what that means, a criteria is like a standard. So you would set up 3 standards, and as long as minimum wage or your proposal meets all 3 of those standards, then it should be passed. So let's say the first criteria is that it gives more income to lower income families. The second criteria is that it increases quality of living. The last criteria is that employers make sure that they are treating their employees well to keep up with like inflation and different things like that. So you can just show how the minimum wage policy that you are recommending fulfills all 3 of those goals or standards or criteria. And so that's also very persuasive. The last one that you can talk about is called refutation design, which is basically you respond.
I never heard of that one.
Yeah, it's new to me too. I just heard about it like last week, but I'm sharing it with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so refutation design would be responding to a counter argument. Does it make sense? So your 3 topics, instead of being 3 reasons why you believe what you believe, or 3 standards that your policy fulfills, it's now 3 counter arguments that you are responding to.
Okay.
Yeah. So that could possibly be that one counter argument could possibly be that it doesn't actually increase like marginal wage, because now, because their wages get higher, now the products get, because a employer, when they are, or a producer, when they are producing their product, they need to keep 2 things in mind. They need to keep the price of their product in mind. They also need to keep the wage of their employee in mind, right? So let's say they're paying their employee $10 an hour to produce 1 unit of product. So 1, I don't know, folder. Is paying $10 an hour. In order to make a profit, they would have to make that sell that folder for higher. So let's say $15, right? In order for them to make a profit, it wouldn't make sense for them to pay the worker $10 and then only sell the products for $7, right? Because then they'd be losing money, right? So one counter argument is that when you raise the wages of the workers, now instead of paying them $10, you have to pay them $15. The products that they're making now directly increases, so those prices become higher. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So in your example,
supply and demand.
Right. So in your example of the construction worker, let's say the construction worker was being paid $5 an hour, and as a result, the house only costed $1,000. Let's just say, for example, the construction worker is being paid $5 an hour. Now the house is only $1,000. Let's say the minimum wage gets raised to $10, which is 2 times the original amount, right? Now the house is $2,000, which means that it's still out of reach for the employee. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So that's one counter. That's one counter argument. So you could look at the argument and say that's why that they're like, this doesn't make sense because this, yeah. So responding to counter arguments. So it could be counter argument 1, 2, 3, and then that would be where you break it down and say that actually that's not true because whatever. Make sense? The easiest one though is just stating what you believe and giving 3 reasons why you believe that.
That's the easy way, okay.
Yeah, that's the easiest one. Because then you don't have to deal with making sure that you fulfill a standard or responding to counter arguments.
So I could say these are the reasons why I think that they should raise the minimum wage in California.
Right.
Because the rent and buy a house is too expensive, and families cannot live off minimum wage payments or minimum wage.
Just minimum wage.
This minimum wage, they can't live off those wages. They can't survive off of that.
Yeah, they can't make ends meet.
Especially single parents or low income families. Okay. And then my third reason would be then I was also thinking about doing one on the Iraq war, arguing about that, why we should never start a war and all that. So, but
that one's a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of opinion.
See, again, the model that you choose should vary depending on your topic, because when your topic is something that is inherently very controversial, then it's going to be harder for your audience who holds a different opinion to just agree with your 3 reasons. You might have to knock down their own conceptions of the idea.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So let's say that you propose a policy that kids should be given 50 pounds of sugar every week. I'm obviously going to have some conceptions about that, right? That's unhealthy, that's gonna make them all obese or whatever.
Yeah, they're gonna break their teeth out.
Yeah, that's the first right. My dentistry bill is gonna go up, right? So you're gonna have to break down those misconceptions of mine first before you can persuade me about your policy. So it's kind of like a wall. So right now, when you have this policy, I already have a wall built up. So in order to persuade me of your policy, you need to tear down my wall and then build up your wall. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you can't build up your wall if I already have a wall here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So, maybe I might just stick with this one.
Yeah. So minimum wage is it's still controversial, but I think you'll find a lot of people that agree with you.
Yeah.
So I have to go, but it was great talking to you.
All right.
Yeah.